the parent consent letter. If one parent refuses to give the letter, can I get another birth certificate for the child without the father's name? Please help.
That is a very good question.
This is what I was calling you here for, EBS.
Yes, about single parenting or going there without the consent of the other parent. So let's go first of all into the green card lottery requirement for application. There are two things. There is application plus the selection process. That is number one. Number two, there is a visa processing. So in the application process, there is no requirement for you to be married to apply to have a child. You can apply as long as that is your child. To prove is your child, you can apply that is your child. They don't care whether you are married, whether you are not married.
True.
That's number one. Selection doesn't care about that. And I want to add something on that. Some people usually get upset with the people who are married or with children, thinking that if there are two people, if you have two children, that means there are three people. If they are given 3 visas, that means they are taking out of 55,000 visas those people. No. If there are 5 people in the family, husband, a child, and 3 kids, it is considered as 1 visa in the total 55,000 visa. So don't get upset with married people or people with children thinking that they are taking your visas. So I want to clear that one out. So you have won. You never got married to the other person. There are 2 scenarios. There is one, people are thinking that, oh, the birth certificate has that name of the biological father. But the other one, what if I put the birth certificate the name of my surname, whatever?
Yeah.
Does it change? Because in the end, if the U.S. Embassy wants to have the consent, if you want to talk about the consent of the parent, even if you change the birth certificate, the child has the father. They will still ask you. And even myself, I can decide to give the name of my child, Benedict, Obama, whatever, Trump or Biden. The name of the child doesn't necessarily mean they must to prove for me I'm the father. Is not about the name to be on the birth certificate. It's beyond than that. They can do DNA tests to prove that if they want to do. So the point is, does the U.S. Embassy requires consent, or they must get approval letter from a father to come if you win the DV lottery? So there is a difference between a man and a woman. Remember, we are dealing with American regulations here, not African regulations where the father is just the head of the family and everything. If you are dealing with the American regulation, it means the child is a mother's child, whether you like it or not. So the father, if the father is going to travel with a child, yes, the father will be asked to prove that if the mother approved, but a mother doesn't need to have approval from a father. Why should I give you approval? This is my child.
Yeah.
Why do I need the approval from you? You don't need the approval. US.
And I think most fathers, they even require to do a DNA. I've seen a case like that here.
Because the father, yes, you have to prove, because what if you're not the father? But a mother, I was in labor, you don't need to prove maternity test. You see, that's the difference. A father has a burden to prove, but a mother doesn't. That's the big part. And secondly, that's why even in the application, when you say you have a child, they don't care who is the father. It's just what is the name of this child.
Yeah.
So they don't care about the father's side. And you don't need any permission.
Okay.
But in a civilized way, you can ask just to make it in a concerned way. But basically, the US as a government doesn't care. For a father, they will care, are you a real father? But if you go as a father and the husband and the wife, and you have a child, they don't need DNA because both agree this is our child. But if you go alone as a father, you will be told to do a DNA. But if a mother goes alone, doesn't need. I want to pose one question which people can understand why am I saying this way. There is a question people asking, what if I want to process green card alone to go to America and my family comes later? The question is, will they ask, because let's say I have a child and I have a wife. They don't ask me if I have to prove the marriage certificate and all other documentation. You can come on your own. And you can decide to come husband and a child and the mother come later. Or you can go husband and wife and the child can come later. Yeah. Depending, we'll talk about that in later. But the point I want to make is there is a difference between regulations in Europe and regulations in America. For instance, one people should understand, if you want to get married while you are in Europe, Scandinavian, German, whatever country you are, Norway, whatever, you must go and get a certificate from your country to prove that you have never been married before. US government doesn't care. If you get married here, the law stays here. They don't need any certificate from your own country to prove that you were single before. You see how they deal with their regulations in Europe is a little bit different. So they might go, yes, I understand some of the Europe or even Australia, they might require the permission, the letter from another parent so that they do that. In Europe, they're very strict to the children. Because in the end, there is a regulation. You can bring a parent, you can join the parent. In the US, yes, they protected the children overall, but marriage is playing a bigger role than a child in immigration. Yeah. So you don't need permission from another person by law. But it's a good way, just if you have good terms, obviously you can understand, but you don't need to change the name, because if you change the name, still if the embassy wants that letter, the child will have the father, they will ask the permission from the father still. So the changing of the birth certificate means nothing.
And what I understand with the passports with the birth certificates, it's hard to remove the name, but it's easier to add a name on the birth certificate. So I know the problem with the parents. They worry about those fathers who, sometimes as human beings, and especially our African mindset is, you want green card, I'm jealous, for me to punish you, I will make sure that you don't take the child with you.
I had one case, which I was talking to people, but it was not on a green card lottery. Someone, they didn't get married, they have 2 children together, and the guy is married to American, so is he processing everything already to come together. The mother said, you are not going with my children. The guy failed to convince the woman, the mother, said, otherwise I'm not paying tuition fees for the international school in Tanzania. So I had to talk to them. A couple of things. Number one, if you don't pay for tuition and fees, if they stay, it's your loss, because the kids will get bad education and they will come bad on you for the rest of your life. They will hate you. And again, the mother, for them denying the opportunity to go to America just because of your beef, they're going to hate you. So we agreed. You are paying for tuition and fees currently, yes. How much is it? It's about $5,000. So are you sure if you're in the US, you can guarantee you'll be sending the children every summer to Tanzania? Because the flight ticket for both of them is not more than 5,000, is less than 4,000. That is good. So let them be until the age of 18. They'll be guaranteed them to come in Tanzania, and then after that, it will be up to them if they want to visit or not to visit. But don't deny the right to the mother, and the mother don't deny the right for them to have good life. And I guarantee that a stepmother in America is not a stepmother in Africa. Here, if you do craziness of stepmother in Africa, you end up in jail. So, and the kids are not little babies. They can talk, they can go to the police if something comes up. So, in the end, they agreed to let the kids to come here to have that opportunity, but the guy promised each summer they'll be taking them to Tanzania.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have